everyone, so I'm here with the next installment of our video series, and I'm going to be talking about working in the corporate fashion industry. So in our last video I left off after graduating Pratt and deciding to go back into fashion design and needing to teach myself how to sketch on the computer, because it's not something that I learned at FIT really, it was just touched on. And I had worked in at a paid fashion internship while also being a waitress, and then I finally got a job as an assistant designer to start off at a corporate design job. So the category, the fashion industry specifically that I was working for was the juniors industry, which is technically supposed to be clothing for tweens and teenagers, but it actually also ends up being what they call a crossover customer, which means that it's not just tweens and teenagers who are buying these clothes, but also women who happen to live in urban areas or low-income areas who are shopping for their clothing at the same kinds of stores that tweens and teenagers are shopping at. So we made a lot of t-shirts with cute designs and leggings and easy throw-on dresses and things like that. So the majority of the clothes that we made were sold at big stores like Kmart and Walmart and Burlington and Ross, inexpensive stores of that nature. And the orders were super, super huge. The stores were buying millions of dollars of clothes at once, and they were also being made very cheaply. And in order to get clothes made very cheaply, they need to be made in bulk, but also made in conditions that aren't so great. So before starting my work in corporate fashion design, I kind of knew probably as much as the average person knows, that the idea of sweatshops exists, but it's probably not as prevalent as anyone should worry about. And if I push it out of my mind, then I won't worry about it. But unfortunately, that's really not the case. And I will draw attention, or a link to on Facebook when I share this on Facebook, the link to my full video about size and consistency, and also my video about fast fashion if you want to learn more about the detriments of fast fashion, what's the difference between fast fashion and slow fashion, and also how those things then tie into why the sizes of clothing are inconsistent between companies and also even within one store, like a big store that, like the ones I was mentioning, Kmart, Burlington, etc., who are buying their clothes from lots of different manufacturers. But this video is more about my particular experience at a corporate job doing fashion design. So I was super excited to first get the job, of course. I was just excited to have a fashion design job, and I got to my new office and I had my own desk and I felt so professional and cute and wonderful. And then it just kind of went downhill from there over the next 2.5-ish, 3 years that I worked in that industry and in that office. It was super stressful, super high stress. And the thing about having a job when you don't personally care about the products that you're making, or even personally stand behind the products that you're making, that then when it's stressful on top of it, it's really harmful, and can even be harmful to your body, which my job was. I developed a giant knot in the back of my back by my shoulder blade that would not hurt when I was home, and then the second I stepped in the subway every day to go to work, my back would start hurting. And it was just clearly a stress-induced pain. So on top of that, the clothes we were making, being cheaply made and being mass manufactured and being such huge orders, they were on really tight deadlines, and we were very often pushing things through that were not made correctly, whether the color wasn't dyed right, or the trims on the item didn't match, or the quality of a part of it wasn't correct, or the stitching was too tight, so when somebody went to put it on, it was going to pop, and we knew that, or we've gone through 3 or 4 fits to get it fit properly, and there's just no solution. It's not getting corrected. The factory's not doing what we want them to. But at the end of the day, since they're not fixing it and we're running out of time, it's either you lose this giant order and the company loses money, or you accept something that's wrong. So most of the time we are accepting things that are wrong. So on top of not standing by that process of making clothing, I also wasn't making anything I was interested in. We were straight up copying things from people. That's what the fashion industry does, especially at that level. If you do a quick Google of like Forever 21 lawsuit copying designers, we're not Forever 21, but we're on a similar price level, and that's what we were doing. So my design director would go on shopping trips. This is not, like a one-off, oh, this design director is a bad person. This is literally just how fast fashion works. So she would go on shopping trips in Europe and all over, and buy their, like, maybe one step up in price level cute clothes. So like Zara, sometimes H&M. Whenever she would go to Europe, she did a lot of shopping at River Island. She, if ASOS was an in-person store, that's the kind of store that she would go to. Buy a bunch of stuff, cut holes in it so that you don't have to pay the taxes on it when you're shipping it back over, because you're not going to do anything with it. So, also, what a huge waste. We are cutting up fabric or cutting up clothes. And then, when we're done with them, we just get rid of them, and they have holes in them. So it's not like we can even donate them, which that's a whole nother topic of why donations don't super work. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So she would put all this stuff on a rack in her room, in her office, and we would go in and we would talk over everything. Buyers would come down. They would talk over everything with us. We would decide what styles we want to blatantly knock off. And then I would bring them back to my desk, and it was my job to sketch them all. And, we would go back and forth on which ones we were going to make. And I would make little charts of a bunch of different sketches, and then eventually those would go into production, and the actual samples that we had on hand in-house would be spec'd out, which means that the technical designer would sit there and take every measurement and then create a tech pack, which are like basically fancy instructions to send to a factory for them to make things. Sometimes we would even, if there was something at the store that was super cute and they knew we were definitely going to make it, they'd buy 2. And one would be for us to keep and take pictures of and sketch and spec and everything. And the second one they would ship to our factory so they could just copy it. So my work environment was super stressful. People were super negative about their bodies. And I wasn't making anything I cared about. I wasn't being creative in any way. I was being overworked. I was underpaid. They would find out that, oh, I also knew how to sew. I also knew how to make patterns. And they would throw more things onto my plate that weren't supposed to be my responsibility. And after 2 promotions and 3 raises, I ended up quitting. With the idea, not that I want to go find another job doing something similar, but that I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be sitting behind a desk, copying other people's work, making things in terrible conditions, which I knew that they were terrible. One of my biggest daily tasks was emailing back and forth with people called agents, which are the go-between between us and the factory. And the agents, so this is not even factory workers. These are people one step up in basically like an office. They would disappear almost yearly because basically, Chinese New Year would happen. And in that time, all of these agents would be trying to find jobs with different offices that treated them better. Whether that was, they got more breaks, or they got paid more, or, literally the office maybe has air conditioning or whatever, and they would quit and go to another company. And then after the new year, we would have to start all over with new agents. So even on that level, people were, the turnover rate of employment was that high. And those people are definitely getting paid better and being treated better than the people actually sitting behind a sewing machine making clothing, because these are people who speak English well enough to send emails back and forth, understand what I'm talking about, have a knowledge of clothing and fashion design and color theory. So, you know, just food for thought. But so, yeah, I left to not be in corporate fashion anymore. I told this all to my design director, who I had developed what I thought was a little bit of a friendship with, you know, working friendship at least. And basically what happened is that she didn't believe me, and she assumed that I was leaving to go work for a competition of ours. And because she thought that's what I was doing, she had me walked out of the office. She told me that I couldn't say goodbye to anybody, that I had to just go to my desk and get my things and leave. And this was 6 or 7 years ago at this point. So, you know, I was a woman in my mid-20s. This was my first big corporate job I had, and I was just terrified of her. I'm also a huge goody two-shoes, so I didn't really want to get in trouble, or I don't know what would have even happened. But so I just went to do that, and I just grabbed my things and went to walk out. And these people that I had been working with for years, who some of them knew that I was putting in my notice, like chased me down the hall and were like, what is going on? Where are you going with the box of all your stuff? And I was like, oh, you know, she said that I just have to leave. So, and that was, you know, just a terrible experience all around. So not only did the job stress me out and give me physical pain that I still deal with a little bit to this day when I'm very stressed out, that exact same spot in my back hurts. So it doesn't hurt daily like it used to, but it definitely comes back from time to time, which is awful. And I never had that before that job. So not only did it do that, but it also was just a bad experience leaving at the end of it. So from there, I started doing freelance work. And luckily, I have a lot of tangential skills when it comes to fashion design. You know, I know how to sketch, I know how to on the computer and by hand, I know how to render, I know how to do flats, I know how to do tech packs, I know how to do production emails back and forth. And then I know how to actually design and make clothes and sew things and do alterations and make custom designs. And I also have a teaching degree. So I took all of those things and I ran with them, and I started a year of freelance work where I did everything I could possibly do to make a living. And I think that I will stop here, and that's what I will talk about in my next video of my first year of freelance, what that was like, and how that freed up my mind and my emotional state and led to launching SmartGlamour. Thanks for watching.